What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today we are delivering on a very requested video, which is kind of like a guide and tips and tricks for fully exploring Act 4 and the kind of information you need to know before, going in and making the full 100% exploration commitment, because it is very long, and that's probably the first point to bear in mind. That it is extremely long. It's going to take you thousands of energy. I think the total energy you need for all the chapters, I think it's about like 4,000-5,000. I might be a bit off with that number, but it's a lot of energy refills that you need to buy. So if you are going to, fully explore Act 4, you need to be aware that there's the chapter is basically designed to make you spend a lot of units on energy refills. A lot of the paths in chapters at least require, maybe 1 or 1.5 energy refills to complete. So that's something to bear in mind before you set off on your Act 4 adventure, that it is really long. Now 90% of the chapter, in my opinion, is very easy once you have a basic understanding of parrying and evading. Providing you can do those two things. 90% of it is absolutely face roll. Chapters 1 and 2 don't really have many problems at all. There aren't many challenging nodes, kind of just looking at it. One of the things that maybe some people struggle with in this one is Chapter 1, Act 3 is the heal on the Superior Iron Man. You just basically want to bring a champion that can either nullify or reverse the healing. But I think for clearing in general, and that's probably a wider point to address, you really do want some form of champion that has a regeneration ability or is a sustainable champion. So some examples of champions that are really good for clearing are Doctor Strange, Wolverine, dupe Scarlet Witch, dupe Wolverine might I add. X-23 is also a viable option, but it's something to bear in mind that you kind of do want a character that can heal, because there are several paths and several maps that do have 25 to 30 trash bosses or trash nodes, so you are going to be taking a little bit of damage pretty much on any character, unless you can play absolutely perfectly. But in those kind of 25-30 matches, even though they're quite easy, there is a lot of room for error, so you do want a champion that can recover it. Even like a 3-star Scarlet Witch here, especially if you can get it to dupe level 99, which, is pretty possible. I would say is a better option than most 4 stars for clearing, especially if you pair her with a crit team. Again, it does seem kind of the default go-to, and you can, again, clear it with any other champion, but if you're using any other champion, you're going to be spending units on health potions, you might as well take advantage of the game mechanic that is Scarlet Witch, or Doctor Strange, or Wolverine, champions that can regenerate health, to avoid you spending hundreds or maybe thousands of units on both revives and health potions. So that's my little pro tip on general clearing there. You want to use a champion that can regenerate. If you don't have one, then you might, I would say maybe wait for one, because there is a lot of clearing to do. It took me, I did about 8 live streams. Everyone was about 3 to 8 hours. To fully clear it. Granted, I was talking to chat, so it might have been a bit slower. If I just had my head down and ground it out, then I probably, 1, would have hated myself, but 2, would have probably got it done a little bit quicker. Although I'm really happy with kind of how we did it. It was fun. It was really boring to do. It is so boring, but the rewards, the 100% rewards they're kind of what they are worth it, in my opinion. You get 3,000 5-star shards, you get a guaranteed 4-star hero crystal, an awakening gem that can be used on any 4-star character in the game. You get 4 tier 2 alpha catalysts, which is the only way that you can get 4 of these in one bundle outside of Labyrinth of Legends to bring a 5-star character up to rank 4 level 55, so those are really good. I'm not quite at the level where I can actually use these yet, but when I get to that level, it's going to be really good. And then also 3 tier 4 class catalysts, which are absolutely amazing, really rare and hard to get your hands on. And then when you go through the various chapters, there are tons of other cool rewards. A lot of basic catalysts. I believe there are 6 in total, so you can get 2 champions to rank 440. 4 additional mastery points. Sorry, 5 actually, including the... actually, is it 4 or 5? Wait, I think it's... No, it is just 4, yeah. So those are also very, very valuable. So yeah, it's definitely like, if you're one of the people who's playing the long game and playing, you know, this game for the foreseeable future, it's definitely something that you want to have on your radar to get done. So anyway, we've talked about generic clearing, we've talked about the rewards. Let's go on to the more, like, difficult stuff and the challenges that you are going to face in Chapter 3 and 4, which are the main problem chapters, really. So Chapter 3, I'm going to talk about stuff mainly from memory in my experience. There may be other circumstantial stuff that you find difficult. I believe it is in 3.1 that there is the Starburst node, which causes basically degeneration on all of your champions on the fight, which gradually chips away at their health. Again, the only real way that you can counter this is by using a champion with regeneration, you know, or spending a lot of units on pots. So 9 out of 10 times, guys, the champion with regeneration is going to be your best option. Now, number two is a pain in the ass chapter, mainly because of thorns. So ideally here, your best option is either a duped Black Widow, a Crossbones, Electra, I think, is okay. She's a little bit too slow to be useful here, so I'd say a duped Black Widow, Crossbones with a crit team, or Scarlet Witch, or some sort of form of champion with regeneration. Granted that this chapter is like a massive pain in the ass. This one really ate into quite a big chunk of my units. I did have to spend a lot of revives. I used a dupe 4-star 440 Scarlet Witch, and still there were a lot of problems with dying, especially on Luke Cage. The retaliation and the thorns damage was a really big problem for me. So that one was just a massive pain in the ass. And then 3.3. So 3.3 is where you have, let's just quickly go into this map, probably the most difficult encounter throughout the entire Act 4, which is, let's head over to him. It is the Juggernaut, and this is probably one of the most BS fights in the game. It just sucks so bad. So this Juggernaut, as you can see, it's a 15k one that inflicts poison, and also universally on this map there is, let's quickly go into the incoming nodes, so there's slash tires. So whenever you dash backwards, you take 50% of the attacker's attack as direct damage. So if you dash back on this one, then you pretty much die. You take like 3,000, 4,000 health, which is so much, and he's also got increased power gain. So yeah, ridiculous fight. So the suggestions for beating that fight, as well as doing that, guys, you'll see kind of leading up to that Juggernaut, you've got all these incoming nodes. Let me just go back to the Juggernaut, because that's the only way you can see them. So basically, for every treasure that you take, you make the Juggernaut more powerful. So you can do it in 5 runs and have him a little bit more powerful each time. I did him in 2 runs with my dupe Scarlet Witch, and he was a bit of a pain. I had to use about 5 revives every time, and just had to hope that I got lucky with a lot of the procs on the Scarlet Witch. But yeah, it's up to you what level of difficulty, but you can use Ronan. Dorky Diggity Dave has a really good guide on how to defeat this Juggernaut with Ronan, which is basically like spamming the level 1 and then doing a double medium and then a 5 combo, and by that time you've got another power bar of level 1, and you can just chain do that on an infinite loop. But that does require you to complete Realm of Legends beforehand to, you know, you can do it with a 3-star Ronin as well, but the 4-star one is a little bit easier. However, I would say overall in comparison in terms of difficulty, I think Realm of Legends is actually quite a bit easier than a lot of the very challenging bosses in Act 4. So I did Realm of Legends, like, I think it was 3 months before I actually fully explored Act 4, which was only a couple of weeks ago. So in comparison, I'd say if you haven't already done Realm of Legends, turn your attention to that, figure out how you're going to get that down, and if you can clear Realm of Legends, then you can probably do Act 4 as well. Again, I think the challenge, yeah, is a bit more in the full exploration of Act 4. So let's go back to the chapters. Oops, we just need to quickly exit out of this to get back to the main menu, where we can talk about some of the other annoyances that you guys are going to face. So what else is there? Let's go back to chapter 3 and do this in order. So 4 and 5, nothing was too problematic here. Yeah, it was pretty easy for the most part, but number 6 is where you have the Venom. Venom's very beefy. Again, Ronan is a really great champion for fighting the Venom, especially on his dupes. You're going to get increased stun duration. But just so I can get this up and show you guys the map, when I was doing this, I actually just used my dupe 440 Scarlet Witch and managed to get Venom down just in time. but you do need to be aware that he is just an absolute pain in the ass when you take the short path. That directly leads to him, but it's good practice. It's good practice, guys. 4 is also really good. Dupe 4 for getting him down really quickly. Just stack armor breaks and build power as quickly as you can. Try to get that level 3, and you'll be able to take a really nice chunk of health out of him before he dies. But what other champions? You can use poison immune champions as well, like Ultron, but those are going to be really slow and not super great, so I do recommend either using a Ronan. Ronan is kind of like the ideal option and the only one for that. Again, guys, you do want to clear Realm of Legends ideally before doing this. And then we are on to Chapter 4. Now, Chapter 4, I actually started my exploration with Chapter 4.6 and did Maestro, because I wanted to start with what I thought was going to be the biggest challenge of the chapter. However, I found Maestro was really easy with a Dupe Scarlet Witch. The kind of two main problems with Maestro are his level 1 ability, which is really hard to get the evade perfectly on that, but it is possible to evade. You need to block for a while and then just swipe back as he's doing the final push. But also, when doing the full exploration, it's his Arc Overload, his regeneration that he gets like every 30 seconds or so. So you either need a way to nullify that or a way to reverse that healing. So Guillotine Magic, also really good options, but you can also use champions like Star-Lord and Symbiote Spider-Man to kind of damage through that. Doctor Strange is a good option as well. But to be honest, guys, even if you do have like a 3-star Scarlet Witch, she is amazing for this fight. She's so good because she can nullify the the healing with her crits. She can stun, she can power lock the opponents. So every time I would just go in with a full crit team, stun, power lock him, and it was just game over. It was so easy. So yeah, guys, Dupe Scarlet Witch, amazing for that fight. But let's take it back. What was it? 4.5. I don't really remember anything too challenging here. The thing that you need to be aware of on the final boss is that for a portion of the fight, she's going to alternate between reversing your healing and not reversing your healing. But I just used Dupe Scarlet Witch again and didn't have too much of a problem. But there's nothing too significant in that chapter. Then what else do we have? We have Chapter 4, which is an interesting one to bear in mind. So there's actually a path on this chapter where you can't use any Mystic champions at all, so it rules out using Scarlet Witch. And a really valuable asset for this path as well, because you do kind of have a mini-boss on this path, which is a like a 10k 5-star Unstoppable Colossus, which makes Captain America so great for this fight. So yeah, there it is. It's actually 13k, so it's a stun immune, Unstoppable Colossus. Really tough champion to fight, but if you have a Captain America, it's going to be a lot easier. What else did I use for this map? So I used Ultron, I used 4, I used Captain America, I also used 4 to take down the final boss in here, which is Groot. For the final boss, Groot, you just kind of want to bait his level 1s. That is the best thing to do when fighting Groots in general. Who else did we use? We used an unduped Black Widow just to have a skill champion. I don't think she saw much play. In terms of the mutant, we brought a Storm just for the damage, and Science. Who did we bring? Yeah, Science is Captain America. Who am I missing here? I think we've covered everyone. So yeah, it was Black Widow, Ultron, Captain America, Storm, and 4. So that was the team that I used for that chapter. That one's a little bit long, but you know, once you get it done, it's good. But yeah, you can't use Scarlet Witch there, so the last path is a little bit challenging, but also very satisfying to get done. So let's quickly port out, have a look at the remaining 3 chapters. Again, chapter 1 and 2 are very easy, so there's not really anything to cover of significance there. Let's have a look at, what was this? This is the Elektra, right? The Elektra is just annoying in this one. Ideally, you want a Black Widow or Crossbones to fight her as well, like Scarlet Witch is a really good option. What makes, I guess, the only annoying thing, Kang's pretty easy to kill, provided that you've fought Kang in Alliance Quest a couple of times and can evade that level 1. Pretty easy mini-boss to deal with, but then you have Elektra, who just has this BS Mesmerize node, so has a 7% chance to randomly evade attacks and leave the opponent stunned, so that is really annoying. Yeah, ideally you want to use a champion, Crossbones, Black Widow, or Scarlet Witch, and hope that you get really good RNG on her. And then let's go to the, oh man, I forgot to exit out again. Absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish. So what else do we have? We have the 4 Jane Foster map, who has, I believe it's a bit of an annoying rhino. So providing that you're pretty good at fighting rhino, then you're going to be alright. So let's go into this one. 4.1, I remember being pretty easy and not much going on in there. But let's have a quick look at this chapter, see what there was. Oh, we did not mean to move there. That was not what we wanted. Okay, let's go back. And let's have a look. Yes, it's the path to the left. On this node, you either have a Spider-Man or a Rhino. I believe you can actually, you know, when you do this map, it's going to alternate every time. And I think, unless you have a dupe level 99 Black Widow, the Rhino is a little bit easier to fight. Well, quite a lot easier to fight for most people. So, you know, maybe you want to just have a look out for when you're clearing this map, for when a Rhino is on this node, because it's going to make it significantly easier than fighting a 13.5k dupe Spider-Man. But yeah, there are a few challenging nodes on this path, but nothing really like too significant. I think this was the worst one. Actually, no, that one's not bad at all. That was the one, the immune to detrimental status effects one. Is a bit of a pain in the ass because you can't parry, but you know, that's going to give you some good experience and a good lesson for when you're fighting Alliance War. So guys, that is pretty much it for Act 4. We've brushed over everything quite quickly, but if you do have any specific questions or chapters that you need a bit of additional assistance on, please do leave them in the comments below. Maybe I can make some feature videos on certain chapters. If you know, I get this video and you guys are like, oh, you know, I really struggle at fighting the Groot or the Maestro or the Juggernaut, I need your help, Seatin. Yeah, I can do a specific video on that, but this was kind of a general guide to let you guys know what you're in store for and kind of what stuff you need to make Act 4 run really, really smoothly. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a little bit more about Act 4 and fully exploring it and what it takes. If you enjoyed this and would like to see more awesome Marvel Contest of Champions content, feel free to hit that subscribe button. If you like the video, guys, leave a like. Apart from that, guys, take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.